I'm Bethany.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is Looking for the Middle.
CouchCast edition.
Welcome back, guys. We are here in the mid-season break, but we didn't want to leave you guys hanging, and we also have a bazillion CouchCast questions, and we need to get caught up.
That's true.
So, don't let that deter you, though.
Yes,
Keep
we're
sending
always
them to
looking
us.
for more.
The easiest way is just to go to our Instagram bio, which our Instagram is LFTM_podcast. So if you go there, the link in our bio has a button that will take you to a form we have that you can just send in CouchCast ideas, questions, episode ideas, things you have problems with and you'd like to hear more about. Just let us know there. We get all kinds of stuff in that and we sift through them and put them all on a list, and this is how you get CouchCast. So I'm going to pick a number from said list, and Kristen will tell us what the question is. She is the keeper of our list. We're going to go with number 2.
Okay, number 2, top of the list.
Yes.
All right. What do you do when you get multiple matches while online dating? I know you say to make sure not to lead anyone on, but I was wondering if you had any advice on how to handle talking to multiple people without hurting anyone.
Okay, so when they say like multiple matches, they mean like multiple matches interested in talking.
Yes.
Okay.
This is a good question, though, because this is something that when I was online dating, I talked to Bethany about a lot, because this is where online dating is very different from in-person dating. Because, at least for me, if I'm interested in somebody in person, they're the only one I'm interested in. They're the only one I'm going to talk to, flirt with, text, try to hang out with, whatever. Online dating, that's not typically the way it goes. And so at first I felt like I was cheating on whoever I was talking to, even though we weren't even in a relationship. We hadn't even, like, he didn't know my last name, but like I felt bad because I was like, oh, but I'm talking to this guy already and this guy wants to talk to me, but I haven't stopped talking to this one. Do I talk to him both at the same time? Am I being dishonest? Like, and she really had to talk me through this, and she has really good advice on it, which is why I'm going to let her talk and I'm going to shut up. But it is a very great question because it is different than typical in-person dating. Would you agree with that?
It is. It is very different, especially as Christians. Because when you're dating as a Christian with the focus and the ultimate end goal being marriage, that is a very one-on-one relationship. And you always hear, well, you should date like you're going to marry. You should date with the intention of that. And so it makes sense that you would just start out with that one-on-one being... We sound like The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Going on a one-on-one. But you would think it feels weird for it to not be like that in the beginning, I guess you could say. But I think you have to remember that when you're talking to someone online, you're not automatically dating them. Sure, it's called online dating, but you haven't gotten to the dating part yet. Think of it this way. If you went to a party and there were a bunch of people there you didn't know, and you talked to 7 guys at this party, you're like, oh, he's fun. I'm talk to him, and had a good time, and you talked and whatever, and you move on, and you're like, oh, he's fun too, and you talk and you laugh and you have a good time at this party, and you move on. You may have talked to 4 or 5 guys at this party. Were you cheating on any of them? No, because you weren't dating any of them. That's
a good analogy.
At the beginning, that's kind of what it's like. You're just talking to see if you even want to continue talking to them. You're not dating them in the beginning. So I think have your standard set of who you're interested in talking to, period. And if it pops up to where 3 people at once meet those criteria and you want to talk to them. My kind of rule of thumb is, and this will be different for everyone, is if at any point I would be, maybe hurt isn't the right word, disappointed, let down, if he came and said, oh, hey, I'm talking to someone else too. If I would be uncomfortable with him saying that to me, I probably shouldn't be in a position to be saying that to him. And so I'll let it kind of fall by the wayside. I will also say this. I think from the outset, you almost get in your head that you're going to be talking to these 3 guys for 2 months. And how are you going to juggle this? That never happens. It's 2 or 3 guys for 2 or 3 days, and they weed themselves out pretty quickly. Or they'll all fall by the wayside and there'll be a couple more or whatever. Or they'll fall by the wayside and it'll be 3 weeks and you talk to no one, and then there will be a couple more. So talking to 2 or 3 guys today doesn't even mean you're going to be talking to 2 or 3 guys tomorrow. So in the early stages, it is fine to talk to them, to talk to multiple people. I've regretted not in the past, because I was very much like what you said in that when I first ever started online dating, I would only talk to one person at a time. And so I'm talking to this guy who seems pretty okay. He seems cool. And we're just in the beginning of getting to know each other. And this other guy pops up who also seems really cool. But I'm like, oh, well, I'm talking to this person, so I'm not going to talk to that guy at all. And then 2 days later, this fizzles out. But that guy's closed the match and moved on. The second one. But maybe he could have been really cool. And I put it on hold for what? Nothing really. So I've regretted not talking to more people in the past, honestly.
Okay. Do you tell, like, is that something you talk about, that you're talking to multiple people? Do you only say that if somebody asks you? Like, how do you navigate that part of it?
I've never had anyone ask.
Really?
Nope.
Okay.
I had one boyfriend that I had met online several years ago. And we had already gotten to the point of we were talking on the phone. There's kind of some distance involved. And so we were making plans to meet. Like, it had moved to that point. And he said, hey, just so we're on the same page here, are you talking to anyone else? And I was like, no, I'm not. Are you? And he's like, no. And so then we kind of said, okay, we're not going to.
Okay.
But I've never had anyone ask before. I did have one guy, we had met once, and he told me that there was still, I think, one other girl that he was talking to. I appreciated the honesty.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you have to keep your expectations reasonable here, because if you're already planning to marry the guy and you've met once and then he tells you he's talking to someone else, then it is tantamount to cheating in your mind. So keep your expectations in check. But honestly, because we get this question a lot, what do I do about talking to multiple people?
Yeah.
It's never been a big issue. I think it's a big issue when you're not in the situation or you haven't done it before. But once you kind of get into it, you're like, oh, this kind of resolves itself.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Side note, I had been talking to a guy not too long ago who he was talking to someone else, and he sent the, I've decided to go in another direction message. But it was so kind and so well put. I literally screenshot it, and I have used it myself more or less since then. So he'll never hear this, but yeah. I was like, oh, I am so using those couple of sentences, and I did.
So then I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to give the scenario that happened to me, and then you can tell me if this is normal or not. So do you continue talking to multiple people while you're going out with them? So let me give you the example. I went out with this guy last year, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'll get annoyed, but it was not great and it wasn't handled well. But we talked for a few days. I'd actually known him from college, so it wasn't like this random person. We go out, we keep texting for a couple days, and then he tells me, hey, I've actually been talking to this other girl, and I'm going to go. Come to find out, because I have mutual friends with him, he was talking to 2 other girls, and he'd gone out with all of us, and then he ended up with none of us. So I was like, that's my snarky side coming out. But I was told that after the date and after continual texting after the date, is that normal? Would you recommend that? Okay, good. She's shaking her head, so now I feel better.
I would not recommend that. And I think it was a little different in your specific situation because you hadn't been talking for very long, but you knew each other in the past. So it wasn't like, oh, I've been talking to this guy I've never seen before for 3 days, and we went out to get coffee. How dare he be talking to someone else? That's different.
Right.
I think if you've been talking to a guy for a few days and you're like, hey, let's just get coffee this weekend, meet up, talk in person, and you do that with a couple of guys, that is A-okay. I've done that. I have had in-person dates planned with 2 different guys in the same week before. Went out with both of them. Neither of them worked out. So it's no big thing. I think if you've either, like you said, you've had a little bit, not a dating history, but you have history together to where you know each other. Yeah. Or you've been talking for an extended period of time and there's investment in, when I say the relationship, I mean just the relationship, not dating relationship, but there's investment there. Then I think it's a little insensitive to say, oh, hey, I'm going out with someone else too, if you haven't talked about it beforehand. If you've said, hey, don't feel like we have to only talk to each other. Like, it just depends on how serious it is. If I'm talking to someone and it's been a few weeks and we've talked about big, deep stuff and it's moving more in a serious direction, and then he's like, oh, never mind, I'm going to go date someone else instead. I'd be like, excuse me?
Yeah.
But if we've just
Come
talked
again?
a little surfacey stuff, casually getting to know each other, and then he's like, hey, I went out with this other girl and I think that's more of a fit. Okay.
Yeah.
But no, if there seems to be real buy-in from either side, I think you owe it to them to either end it with them before you go out or just really focus on that one person. Because like we said, as Christians, we are dating to honor the Lord, to honor the other person, and that end ultimate goal is marriage. So that narrowing down to one person, I think, happens quicker than the world at large.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's wise. So I think that's great advice. Thank you for imparting so much wisdom on all of us.
Oh dear,
it's a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah. So we hope that was helpful for y'all. And like Bethany said, if you have another question for us, feel free to go to our Instagram bio and send us one, because we would love to answer them. We are always collecting them. So
yes. Well, guys, that wraps it up for today. I think we will be back next week with another CouchCast and back with season 5 later on this year. So until then, I'm Bethany.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is Looking for the Middle.